There are only two superstar presenters in the minds of nature program viewers. Sir David Attenborough is the godfather and Morgan Freeman voice of nature programming. The other was the hyperactive, passionate, and charismatic Steve Irwin. The death of this beloved icon left the world in disbelief. Not only did this untimely death stun us, but also the gruesome manner in which it occurred. Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, was speared through the heart by a stingray on September 4th, 2006. How did it happen? Why did it happen? Join us as we investigate the circumstances surrounding Steve Irwin's death and the rare occurrence that caused it. Steve Irwin became one of the most prominent television personalities in the world in 1996. Irwin discovered his love and skill in handling animals at a young age. My father was an expert in herpetology, which is the study of reptiles, and his mother was a wildlife rehabilitator. Irwin's family moved to Beerwah, near Queensland, Australia, in 1970 to set up the Beerwah Reptile Park. While he was still a child, Steve spent his formative years helping with park management and animal nutrition. Reptiles were so entrenched in Irwin's life that he was given a 12-foot scrub python for his 6th birthday. After his father had trained him on how to handle reptiles during his childhood, he took the next step and started working with and wrestling crocodiles at the age of 9. As a volunteer for Queensland's East Coast Crocodile Management Program, he captured over 100 crocodiles, some of which were relocated and others sent to the family park. Irwin assumed control of the Beerwah Reptile Park in 1991 and renamed it the Australia Zoo in 1998. Steve Irwin was undeniably the main character of The Crocodile Hunter, but his family, including his wife Terry, played a crucial role in the series. Terry, like her spouse, developed an early appreciation for animals. Her family ran a transportation business in Eugene, Oregon, and her father often brought home injured animals he encountered on the road. Terry opened Cougar Country in 1986, a facility that helped the rehabilitation and release of foxes, raccoons, bobcats, bears, and cougars. Terry travelled to Australia in 1991 and saw Steve for the first time during one of his crocodile performances at the Australia Zoo. Terry told Barbara Waters in 2006, "I was absolutely floored. That was it. This man was a real-life hero. I fell there and then. Love at first sight. Not a problem. I said to my friend, I got to meet this guy." 4 months later, the couple got engaged. Even their honeymoon turned into a crocodile relocation exercise and the first Crocodile Hunter episode. The Crocodile Hunter was a tremendous success in the United States and Irwin's native Australia, but its popularity extended far beyond these two countries. The series was viewed and adored by over 500 million people in 130 countries across the globe. Irwin's overly excitable and enthusiastic presentation style, broad Australian dialect, signature khaki shorts, and catchphrase, "Crikey," gained international recognition. Sir David Attenborough lauded Irwin for introducing many people to the natural world, saying, "He taught them how wonderful and exciting it was. He was a born communicator." Steve Irwin's cameraman, Justin Lyons, was the sole witness to the attack that resulted in the crocodile hunter's death. Much of what we know about that tragic day is from Lyons's first-hand account. Irwin was filming a segment for the documentary Ocean's Deadliest at Bat Reef, located close to Port Douglas, in Queensland. During a break in filming because of bad weather conditions, Irwin decided to snorkel in shallow waters while being videotaped to gather material for his daughter Bindi's television show. Steve was like a caged tiger when he couldn't do something, particularly on a boat. So he said, "Let's go and do something," Lyons explained. They encountered a massive and impressive 8-foot-wide stingray as they entered the shallow waters. According to Lyons, stingrays are typically quite docile, and if they don't want to be near a human, they swim away. After seeing the stingray, Irwin saw the potential for a fantastic shot for the show. "We stood up. I said, 'One last shot. You swim up from behind the animal, and I'll try and get a shot of it swimming away. Lyons recalled. One thing that Irwin was never called was a coward. Although stingrays can inflict severe damage, this animal was nowhere near as dangerous as some of the animals Irwin had filmed. Lyons and Irwin submerged together to get this potentially amazing footage. All of a sudden, it propped on its front and started stabbing wildly with its tail. Hundreds of strikes in a few seconds. They're incredibly powerful animals, and they've been on the planet for 60 million years, so they've survived because they are survivors. What Lyons didn't realize is that the stingray delivered several would-be fatal slashes to Irwin's chest. Lyons was unaware of the situation and merely planned to capture the stingray swimming away. When he turned around, he saw Irwin standing in a pool of blood and staring at his lacerated chest. Irwin screamed, "It's punctured me lung!" It's crazy what goes through your head. But the first thing I thought of was, we've got to get out of the water because we're attracting sharks. It was seconds, but it felt like forever because time really did slow down for me there. Lyons said. Many news outlets later reported that the barb had been lodged in Irwin's chest. Lyons would correct them with his heartbreaking testimony of the events that day. Contrary to what I read in the papers, and everything I heard at the time, which was just incorrect, the stingray barb is a blade, about a foot, extending out the middle part of its tail. So it's not at the tip of the tail, it's about in the middle. It's a bit like a fingernail, and the other half is embedded in the tail of the stingray. It didn't come out. Steve didn't pull it out. It's a jagged, sharp barb, and it went through his chest like a knife through butter, he said. Lyons hypothesized that the stingray mistook Irwin's shadow for a tiger shark, which feeds on stingrays, and thus exhibited its natural defensive behavior. Neither Steve Irwin nor his cameraman initially realized the severity of his injuries. Lyons said that his first impulse was to get out of the water, so Irwin's bleeding would not attract sharks. Irwin initially believed the stingray had pierced his lung, a critical but survivable injury. In a short time, everyone who saw the gruesome chest injuries Irwin had sustained was confronted with the harsh and dire realities of the situation. We threw him into the boat and assessed the situation for about 5 seconds. He had about a 2-inch injury over his heart, with blood and fluid coming out of it, and we thought, we've got to get him back to the boat as fast as we can, Lyons said. Lyons said that the stingray barbs contain venom, making the injury excruciatingly painful. Irwin had an exceptionally high pain threshold, so Lyons knew the degree of agony Irwin appeared to be experiencing showed a severe injury. Irwin knew his lung was pierced because he was having difficulty breathing, but he was unaware of the massive harm to his heart, as described by Lyons. Even if he had arrived at an emergency room at once, Lyons believed Irwin could not have been saved. Lyons and another crew member applied direct pressure to Irwin's laceration, but the blood just kept flowing through their fingers. I was saying to him things like, "Think of your kids, Steve. Hang on, hang on, hang on," Lyons said. That's when one of the world's most expressive icons would calmly say, "I'm dying." These would be Steve Irwin's last words. Irwin had lost consciousness, so they took him to the lead boat, where Lyons began doing cardiopulmonary resuscitation on him. Everyone on the boat was expecting a miracle, as many had seen Irwin as a superhero that couldn't die. Lyons continued CPR for approximately an hour until they reached land, after which Irwin was loaded onto a medical helicopter bound for the nearest hospital. They pronounced him dead within 10 seconds of looking at him, Lyons said. There would be no miracle on this day. One of the world's most influential conservationists was dead. According to Lyons, Irwin's death by normally docile stingray was unexpected. He said, however, that Irwin's death, in a weird way, was logical. It was probably always going to be something weird with Steve, Lyons said. I mean, a crocodile or a shark. He was so good with animals, nothing was going to get him. We always thought it would be something. We thought he was going to live forever, but we always thought it would be a crazy, silly accident. And as it turns out, that's exactly what it was. Steve Irwin was killed by an unthinkable suspect, given that he made his livelihood wrestling with some of the most ferocious creatures on Earth. The short-tailed stingray, Dasyatis brevicaudata, is typically a large and docile creature. It is the biggest of all stingrays, reaching up to 14 feet long and weighing over 750 pounds. All stingrays are equipped with at least one venomous spine, at the base of their whip-like tails. Stingrays are typically regarded as inquisitive, but cautious. Short-tailed stingrays have 2 tail spines, a thin spike, and a massive, serrated bayonet. The tail barb of the stingray that attacked Irwin was reportedly over 8 inches long. These weapons are used by stingrays for one purpose: protection. These tail spines are an effective deterrent for sharks and other common stingray predators. Attacks by stingrays that result in human death are extremely rare. Since 1945, only 2 have been recognized in Australian waters. Both victims, like Irwin, were wounded in the chest. Only 1 or 2 fatal stingray attacks are reported annually throughout the world. However, non-fatal stingray attacks are common in shallow waters worldwide. These incidents typically involve unwitting waders who step on rays sheltering in the sand from predators. These types of attacks, which occur approximately 1,500 times per year in US waters alone, are rarely lethal, although the agony from stingray venom is reportedly excruciating. Little is known about the specific chemical properties of the short-tailed stingray's poison. Still, stingray venom is a potent cocktail of neurotoxins, enzymes, and the neurotransmitter serotonin, inhibiting smooth muscle contraction and slowing blood circulation, thereby preventing the venom from being diluted. In the case of Irwin, the physical harm to his heart likely caused his death before the toxin could take effect. Reviewing footage of Irwin's final encounter, Australian police officials have concluded that the attack was unprovoked. According to sources, the number of times the deadly ferocity Irwin was hit with was staggering. These attacks are an evolutionary defense against sharks. The speed and quantity of strikes confuse and shock a predator into leaving the stingray alone. Short-tailed stingrays, also known as smooth stingrays or bull rays, spend most of their time gliding over the ocean floor in pursuit of mollusks, fish, and crustaceans to eat. In the waters of the Indian and West Pacific Oceans, the undulations of their flattened pectoral fins propel them gracefully over the sea floor and attract the attention of divers and snorkelers. When and if the video footage of Steve Irwin's death is made public, the circumstances surrounding the fatal stingray attack can be examined in greater detail. Until then, the attack is described as a tragic accident that took the life of a devoted conservationist. Steve Irwin's influence on countless lives and this world continues today. His contribution to the world's ecological knowledge is exemplified by his dedication to conserving and protecting fauna and diverse ecosystems and human education. Irwin once said, "I believe that education is all about being excited about something. Seeing passion and enthusiasm helps push an educational message." His legacy is abundantly evident by the fact that his own children, Bindi Sue and Robert Clarence Irwin, and his partner and wife, Terry Irwin, continue to carry on with his work and memory on a daily basis. Through their sustained work with wildlife conservation and education, the Irwin family has kept Steve's passion for advancing the cause of environmentalism. Steve Irwin Day is held annually on November 15th to celebrate the life and legacy of Irwin. The date was chosen because it coincides with the birthday of one of Irwin's favorite animals, a Galapagos tortoise. People raise funds for wildlife warriors to continue Irwin's conservation efforts, and Australia Zoo personnel don khaki uniforms in his honor. Stingrays are majestic, ancient animals that look harmless, but as with all wild animals that size, they can turn into killers in a matter of seconds. Maybe Irwin's death was the last lesson he would teach us.